For over 60 years, a small boy lay in a grave marked with just 4 words, America's unknown child. His story became one of Philadelphia's most haunting cold cases. A mystery that, honestly, it seemed was destined to stay that way forever. But after all those decades of silence, modern science has finally given him his name back. 65 years. Just think about that for a second. That's how long this little boy remained a ghost, a nameless victim found in a cardboard box. An entire lifetime passed while investigators and really the city itself just kept searching for an answer that never came. He became the symbol of the forgotten. His face was on posters all across the country. And this wasn't just some random case. For Philadelphia, it was its oldest unsolved homicide. It was this deep, lingering wound on the city's conscience. But then, in 2022, everything changed. All those decades of dead ends, of frustration, they finally gave way to a massive breakthrough. After 65 long years of anonymity, the boy in the box was unknown no more. His name is Joseph Augustus Zarelli. And for the very first time, we can actually say his name. We know his birthday. We can finally separate the child from the cold case legend. This, right here, is the moment that generations of investigators had been working towards. So, to really understand how we got here, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. The story starts on a cold winter day back in 1957, in a quiet, wooded part of Philadelphia called Fox Chase. A college student reported finding a big cardboard box just left in the woods. When police arrived and opened it, they found the body of a small boy. He was naked, covered in bruises, and had been wrapped in a faded plaid blanket. The box itself was for a baby's bassinet, the kind sold at a local JCPenney. The autopsy just painted an even more tragic picture of abuse. The official cause of death was blunt force trauma. For a 4-year-old, he was severely malnourished, and his hair had been recently and very crudely chopped off. Every single detail pointed to a short and incredibly brutal life. Now, you'd think a discovery this horrific would spark a massive investigation. And it absolutely did. But right from the very beginning, detectives were just met with this frustrating wall of silence. The trail went cold almost instantly. And here's a look at just how tough this investigation was from day one. They traced the bassinet box to a specific store, sure, but all 12 had been bought with cash, no records. A unique cap found nearby? They traced it to the person who made it, but the buyer was a total ghost. The blanket, mass-produced, totally untraceable. They even distributed 400,000 flyers with his face on them, and still nobody came forward. It was truly as if he had never existed at all. With no real evidence, theories started to fill that void. One of the biggest ones focused on a nearby foster home, where an investigator found a similar bassinet. Then there was another, stranger one, called the M theory. It came from a woman who claimed her own abusive mother had bought and killed the boy. And while both theories had these weirdly specific details that seemed to match the crime scene, neither could ever be proven. In fact, DNA later ruled out the foster home theory entirely. And the M theory, well, it just remained unverifiable. And so, for decades, the case file just sat there, gathering dust. It was this monument to a mystery that everyone pretty much thought was unsolvable. But then, technology caught up. A revolutionary field of science called forensic genetic genealogy offered this one last flicker of hope where there had been none for so long. The road to identifying him was basically a forensic marathon. In 2019, they exhumed his body for a 3rd time, which allowed scientists to finally build a modern DNA profile. They uploaded that profile to public genealogy databases and got a hit, not to a parent, but to a distant relative on his mother's side. From there, it was just painstaking work. Genealogists built this massive family tree going back generations and eventually pinpointed his birth mother. That one crucial lead, combined with birth records, then led them to his father. One last DNA test confirmed it. They had found him. And this quote from the Philadelphia Police Department really captures the spirit behind this modern investigation. The main goal wasn't just about solving a homicide. It was about giving this little boy his name back. It was about restoring his identity and his dignity finally, after all that time. But finding out who Joseph Zarelli was, that wasn't the end of the story. In a way, solving one mystery only opened up another, much darker one. We now know who he was, but the question of what happened to him and who was responsible is still completely unanswered. This is the question that now hangs over the entire case. With his identity finally known, the whole investigation has shifted. It's no longer who is he, it's now who did this to him. And the challenges now are just immense. Both of Joseph's biological parents are now dead. He has living siblings, but they never even knew he existed. The police have said they have their suspicions about who might be responsible, but with so much time passed, there just isn't enough evidence to file charges. And that central question, why a 4-year-old could just vanish without anyone reporting him missing, that still haunts this case. So really the best way to describe the case today is in 2 parts. The world finally knows the name of the boy in the box, that mystery is solved, but the crime of his murder, that remains officially and maybe permanently unsolved. In January of 2023, his headstone at Ivy Hill Cemetery was finally changed. The words "America's unknown child" were replaced with his name. After 65 years, Joseph Augustus Zaralelli is no longer defined by the mystery of his death, but by the dignity of his name, finally restored.